So as I was thinking about what topic to do next, I was looking at all the um, different topics of the videos I'd already done, and suddenly this fear came in my mind. As I'm getting maybe more exposure and more people find me, like what if a certain demographic like really start to come? What if I'm misinterpreted? What if people think that I'm like really anti, like feminist or anti this or that, and which I am okay with on a level, but I don't. It's of course not totally true. But so then I started thinking, like I've been focusing also on just the negative aspects, the things to be cautious of. I mean, those are the things that really stand out to me generally, the the inconsistencies and how the logic doesn't extend all the way through a certain system or movement. Like I notice those things, those subtle things, very strongly, and so those, and I'm wanting similar goals. Of course, like I'm very interested in the goals of feminism and very interested in theory and the goals of like wokeness, which is just you know making people able to pursue their happiness um, without unnecessary difficulty. And so, but then I started thinking, okay, like I'm focusing on the negative stuff. I'm supposed to be a spiritual practitioner, and realizing that the nature of the mind is always to focus on these negative things. And that's one of the big problems I have observed, is like people are getting so worked up on only fixating on these negative things that it's bringing down their whole psyche and nervous system. And so, okay, why don't I practice what I preach? And why don't I start focusing on the positive things? Because I think there has been so many positive things, like really powerful growths and expansions that I don't hear people talking about. And I think it's not even noticed, like these gains that have been received. People are so fixated on the negative, they just write onto what else can we attack, what else can we deconstruct, what else can we destroy. And I think there's so much reason to celebrate how far culture has come. It's hard to measure this because we kind of are in the middle of it and we're going through our own processes, and it's so hard to really compare. But I mean, when I think about like when I was growing up and how to find certain esoteric or kind of taboo information, how hard that was. You had to like, before I had a vehicle, access to a vehicle of my own, it's like there was no internet. So like maybe you're going to Barnes and Noble bookstore, these giant conglomeration bookstores with your parents, and maybe you can like sneak off for a while, or maybe and find a book that has like some information about sex or spirituality, or I don't know. I mean, I feel like information was so hard to come by. Or where else do you get information? I mean, you have to talk to someone and find someone, and it was just so much harder to find information that was out of your direct vicinity. It's like really, 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 really hard to think about. In culture, I think, was much more monoculture. Like people are just generally subscribing to the same beliefs and ideas and values, for better or for worse. And so now with the internet, we have just the propagation of so much more information. And I think one of the starts of it was just what I saw is like the younger generation, and also like kind of the more like feminist movement of really starting to challenge, and at least especially on the internet, like challenge different beliefs. And I think the innocence of young people is so much of a driving force. They want to know why, and it's like if you're in a locked-in culture, you get the same answer 100 times, and so you either run away or you just actually kind of buy into it, even if you don't believe it. But when you have the internet and you have different perspectives, different cultures, it's like it's just becomes very, very difficult to sit with untruth when you know that it's done a certain, like a better way somewhere else, or it's this truth that so many people are telling you isn't actually true. And I think that create a lot of force, a lot of energy, a lot of anger, a lot of determination, and young people have so much energy. And then to me, I think like a really big tipping point that I saw was when Me Too happened, the Me Too movement, where you had because before, at least in the United States, and I'm sure it's like this in other cultures too, like sexual harassment was such an institutionalized part of life, and there was kind of a attitude, that still exists a little bit less so, I think, but there was just this attitude that if you're a woman and you're dressed a certain way, like you're gonna get harassed, or you have to you have to be and you have to be careful if you're going out and you're getting inebriated, and there's just these like very fixed rules, which are probably rooted in practicality and in some wisdom, but also that were very restrictive, that were like that were holding the energy and the power and the freedom of women down. And I think when Me Too happened, and you had so many people just creating this massive wave, and to blame, also to blame someone for, like sexual harassment and accusations of sexual assault and things like this, where, I don't remember them being so as common. They, like, it wasn't really talked about much, and if it was in the news, you get some very like vague and very sanitized version of it, where you wouldn't hear the details. It wouldn't become human. It's like this very Western, especially United States, like kind of, you put it in a box and you don't make it real, like how funerals are, or how they happen over there and death happens over there, and you do it and then you don't think about it anymore, kind of thing. Or how the food system is like, this is where the massive farm of animals is that can't move and is being pumped with hormones, and they're all sick and unhealthy probably, and people are eating this, but it's just beef, it's just pork, it's just meat. You don't have to think about it, you just go to the grocery store and pick it up off the shelf type of attitude. So, but when Me Too happened, I think it really, I don't know, I think something big, it just activated women's voices so much, and it was such like this overpowering force, and people really got in a public way of sharing these very vulnerable and very like intense things. And yeah, United States, we're like not good at being with intense emotions. We like to minimize them, and we like to put them on the shelf, and we like to be puritanical and just put it over in the corner and say good luck, like life is tough and that kind of stuff. And it, it just created a huge mental health crisis, I think, because healing comes from presence and connection, and there's been so much hurt and pain, and when people don't have the capacity to be with that pain, then healing can't happen. And we're seeing so much disconnection because I think our culture lacks the capacity to be with pain. And that was part of the reason which inspired me to learn this somatic therapy, because it provided that education and training to be with my own pain and to be with others in a very profound way. And this is how I believe the healing has to happen. It has to happen from one person to another slowly over time. And so you had this Me Too movement, which it was just like this avalanche of like, I didn't pay too much attention to it, but I just caught snippets of it here and there. But so many of these idols were falling, and it really kind of took the curtain away. Took like, you have the Wizard of Oz was behind the curtain. He was like so powerful and invincible, and usually powerful people, powerful type of institutions, they had the power of manipulating the communication. And so when you have the internet, you have this wave of people that just like, that can't take it anymore. And it was so powerful that suddenly the veneer started fading, and people started realizing, wow, this is like a really pervasive problem, and that people are being silenced of their truth. That's something that's really happening. And I think that really created a big shift in how people started to show up both on the internet and in life, and these institutions, that were protected and had the ability to manipulate narrative. Now, instead of just press conferences and television, now you have so many channels of communication like Facebook and Twitter and text messages. It's like you can't control people. People have so many so much ability to communicate, in a way like never before, which of course has also led to so much darkness coming to light, and so much more cheating I think is happening, so much access to people, you know in terms of romantic partnerships or consuming sexual content. It's like so much more accessible and easy just to click a few buttons and be stimulated that way. So this, with the ease comes ease of, for the tool of ease comes with a benefit, and then it has this dark side as well. But so yeah, that I think that's one of the really big benefits of feminism. And now I think it's pervaded. There's not this immediate reaction that I think the public had when there's an accusation about something. Oh, like I think it's just more validity is given to people's voices. And I think there's a lot of people, who didn't have voices, who are learning they can have voices, and not all of them come from a position of clarity. You're having some voices, that are very loud, maybe, that want to be heard, where their perception might be warped. And I think this is a lot of the backlash that some people, there's the chance of false accusations or accusations of projection, and it becomes hard, because sometimes it's hard to discern, truthfulness. Like you want to believe someone when they say they've been wounded, but not everybody is trustworthy and believable. But I think, I think it's a net benefit, because, we need to learn discernment. We need to learn how to trust and how to use our intuition. And, if we're just only trusting the press conferences for our TV news for our opinions, we're not using our human discernment and intuition. And I think so, we get to hear on both sides of things, and we get to have to wade through the muck ourselves. And so, yeah, this is one huge benefit of recent culture, internet culture, and feminism and wokeness, I think, giving, and it's so many things have gotten elevated and have become like normalized this way. Like, people that are desiring, especially like women who are desiring to, date more and to not settle down as much. They, have that option much more freely now. Whereas before, like, I don't, there was so much cultural pressure against that. And you also have, what else do you have? Yeah, just people, what other, I'm trying to think of other things. Yeah, just like alternative styles of living. People are moving around a lot. People, it used to be people weren't moving as much anymore, but now moving into different places and trying out different places for better or worse is more possible. So you've got a lot of this happening with, because of just the freedom of information and the freedom, and people are just having more freedoms and freedom to do different things with career and money. Like, I never imagined, like, the things that when I was growing up, it was like everybody I knew, you just get a career. You work somewhere, and then you just do that for a while. It's like, and of course you have some people that own small businesses, but it's like, I don't know, I didn't experience anybody who had any like entrepreneurial drive like that. It's like, and now you see so many examples of people pursuing their interests and trying to make it into business and exploring different things and changing. And of course there's like a better, there's a shadow side to that as well. It's allowing me to do this. Like, it's taken me so many years to shift out of that like safety mindset where now I'm now I'm just kind of totally freelancing, giving music lessons and sound healing and voice healing and piano lessons and healing work. That kind of thing to me initially was very scary when I was getting like a great salary as a nurse for many years and so much stability that way. So and a huge one is like a big change in sexuality. So people are talking about it, like, before, like, the women would talk about it with each other and exchange information, and guys would never talk about it much, except in like a more egotistical way generally, and maybe you hear about it in a sex ed class, and that was like the extent of the information you get. And now, people are openly talking about so many different nuances of human sexuality, and preferences and styles, and yeah, just different positive and negative experiences. And it's opened up people. Before, there were so many rules around it and expectations. I mean, I think it was never like so strong expectations. Like, I think people are always expected to kind of explore that, but there was like a pretty strong force as well. Like, you partner up, at some point you like partner up, and self-discovery wasn't so focused on it. And now, people are really allowing themselves to ask, to ask themselves, what do I like? What do I want? What satisfies me? What makes me happy? And to speak to it, to not allow themselves to settle for, both in relationships and sexuality, for something that is unsupportive, that isn't nourishing, that's not life affirming. And there's so many more aspects of sacred sexuality that are coming to light through Taoism, through Neo Tantra, through just Western style sacred sexuality, and exposure to I mean, it's like there's this one dating site that I'm on where people are just like openly talking about different like kinks that they have and different like things that they desire, like before you even know someone. It's like, wow, that's come so far from how it used to be. So, and for me, I see that as also like a dark side, which is sexuality is such a huge force and such a huge energy, and it's only just I think there's this attitude of throwing out the baby with the bathwater and saying everything before was wrong and restrictive, and like, let's just do what we want and explore. And I think there's so the human mind and nervous system and spiritual system and emotional system is so complex. And I think the dark side is that it's it's a very strong power, and the human mind always wants to find something that it likes. It always wants to get what it likes, and it dislikes when it doesn't get what it likes. And it also, when we get what we want, when we get what we like, that thing soon loses its stimulation. Like the thing that was enjoyable before, after 20, if you eat steak every night for dinner, it's not going to be as special and enjoyable. So so you see a trend in culture as well of like people needing to get stimulated in different ways. You can see it with the internet. Like, there's just like all sorts of you hear about all sorts of dark things that pop up because there's just always this chase for new and stimulating things. So the dark side of this, like, perhaps unintegrated and just open-ended exploration of this energy is that it can become like a fixation to people, or it can be, instead of being like one of a larger cornucopia of aspects of a relationship, it can become like a people are trying to detach it from its unusual traditional context and explore it. And there's been varying results. I mean, almost every woman I've ever met has been like really traumatized sexually in one way or another because you just don't know all these different factors and subtle forces that are going on when you open your nervous system and you open your heart, you open your sexual energy. It sounds easy and it sounds great, just like try and explore and and enjoy, but the reality of it is that there's so many forces at work, and the nervous system is so complicated. And I think there is a really compelling reason why sexuality is almost always confined to stable, was encouraged to be confined to stable relationships. And I mean, you can create that even with, you know, you can create that without, of course, having like that committed relationship, but there's just so much that goes on in the nervous system and in communication and in life. You know, life, we only have so much time. And so I think, yeah, there's some compelling reasons why sexuality is really well supported in like a safe container. But you know, I don't have too much experience myself. I'm just looking through, I'm just observing what I see in other people, the nervous system stability and health and groundedness that I see, life stability. So yeah, so what else? And I mean, yeah, another part of the dark side. So, you know, this sexual force, which was such a repressed thing, and, you know, just don't talk about it. You do, you know, kind of do what you want, but don't tell us about it. Keep it in the bedroom type of thing. You know, now that it's been brought to awareness and you can hear it discussed and see, and you can go on Instagram and see many beautiful women doing like moving sexually, and you've got OnlyFans over here, and you've got, you know, porn for free over here. And so, you know, this force awakened rather quickly, and I think a lot of people who were conditioned to be very repressed in that energy, I mean, it can like kind of that sudden onset of that energy and that permissiveness of that energy, it's like you hear so many stories of people just like doing the most undiscerning things, like politicians like surfing porn in the, you know, and like while they're at work at the whatever government offices, and just people doing so many, that people are really getting controlled by it because that force arose very quickly. It kind of shifted very quickly, and it's not, you know, it's not a force to be like played around with and open. And I think, you know, there's a reason, I think, that there's so much shame around it, and so many religions have kind of tried to control it, and societies inadvertently control it one way or another, whether consciously or unconsciously, because it's just such a powerful disruptive force, you know, especially if not used in the right way and not done through a framework of values and structure. And it's like, I think I wonder, I don't feel like most, this is maybe a controversial opinion, I don't feel like most people can really handle that kind of energy, that kind of full energy running through. It's like, it's a lot, you know, and when you feel it, it clouds the mind, and it, you know, distracts us from other things. And I think that's another compelling reason for it to be within a steady container, because yeah, if we're just getting sexually activated, you know, you see people, you know, I mean, there's a reason why so many people are addicted to porn, and why, you know, it's affecting their ability to be happy with partners. You know, it's just like doing so much damage because it's such a powerful force. It's like, you know, it's like giving a kid a gun or something. It's like, it's just a very powerful energy. So, and, you know, also, you know, on the one hand, people have been, so that exposure, that conversation that's been happening has also really done a benefit of desexualizing so many things. Like, women have been desexualized in so many ways. There's such a taboo on sexuality that inadvertently women were sexualized in so many ways. But bringing this topic up, you know, stating it, you know, and I just admire so much the courage of like so many women to like really break these taboos in a way that, you know, you never see men doing, really, like so much more courage than men, I think. It's really incredible. And but so you see, you know, like desexualizing like the nipples and the breasts, and just like, and also saying like what's wrong with sexuality. You know, I think that's really powerful too. Like, it's, you know, it feels good to have that energy move through you. And you know, the dark side of that is it's, you know, it's very addictive and it's very attractive, and people, you know, attraction and attention is like a substitute for connection. So if we, you know, we're in a crisis of connection in the West, and it's very easy to substitute attraction and you know, attention for connection. But, you know, there's energy flowing both ways. Someone's, you know, energy is moving both ways, but, you know, attention is not healthy. It's not deep. It's not sincere. It's just like a little dopamine hit. Whereas, you know, real connection, that's what we all really want. So it's possible, so that has that dark side there. And so you have you have the desexualization on one hand, and then you have, since you have the trolls that are just like hypersexualizing everybody. And it's like the other side of the coin, because it's the permission is there to really talk about it, and some people just don't know how to handle it. They've got so much resentment, or they've got so much baggage, or they've got so much anger that they can't handle that kind of energy. They don't have access to it themselves in a safe way, so they want to tear down people who do have access to it. And not all of it is healthy. I think it's like, I don't think it's really healthy to have wanton sexual energy just flying all around our lives. I think it's not nourishing and sustainable, and it's not, just from like a stability point of view, it's not stable. So, but I think we're in a process of just discovering that, and everyone's kind of has to discover all these things. We have to be addicted to our phones to discover, hey, wait, like I'm addicted to my phone, and we shouldn't be addicted to our phones. And people have to sleep around a lot and say, oh, actually I feel really terrible, and I've got like emotional and mental problems because there's something underlying it, and some damage that's happening from opening myself in a way that I didn't realize. So there's also that aspect that there's over sexualization because it's just a powerful force. And another aspect of this, speaking up and shamelessly, guiltlessly like sharing and speaking the truth is, people are reevaluating relationships of all kinds, like friendships, family relationships, and really, whereas the family was kind of like a cohesive unit before, and you're stuck with it, and you try to blend in and you protect it. There's value in that, but also, you hear so many awful stories of just terrible, terrible, toxic family dynamics, and people are starting to speak up and say, this isn't healthy. Don't talk to me that way. Don't treat me like this. I deserve to be treated with respect. I deserve to be treated with love. And, it's creating a lot of disruption, because, these family patterns are deeply ingrained, and people don't realize a lot. It's in the subconscious. They don't realize they're doing anything wrong, or they can't admit to themselves that they're doing something wrong. And to be faced with, usually people would just get bulldozed, and and they go along with it, and that's changing, and it's causing disruption for the people who are stepping out of it themselves, because there is some value in having cohesive family structures, but also the people who are there. You hear so many stories of people going no contact with their families, and on the healing journey, you kind of the family dynamics are so strong, they're so karmically powerful, there's so much happening there, and Ram Dass said, like, if you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family, because there's so much that comes up. Our patterns of, that's where it all starts. It's our first like environment where we learned these patterns of communication and of energy and of emotions, and of to harmonize with whatever system we were in. We have to adjust in so many ways to the unhealthy parts, and so I think there's the dark side of this is that people don't understand how change works, and they want to just say stop doing this and expect everything to immediately be fine, and insist very strongly, and then when it doesn't happen, they say, oh well, this person can't meet my needs. So I think a lot of family relationships are being broken that way. And of course, like if it's an abusive situation, this is very necessary. But I think that there's a lot of like things people are calling abuse, which aren't actually abuse, which are just toxic patterns, which can be navigated skillfully and still respect the family system, but at the same time not get enmeshed in it. And I think that nuance is being lost, so you see a lot of people being disconnected from their families, and it's causing a lot of pain, and it's causing a lot of pain and a lot of mental illness, because this family structure, even when it's toxic, provides so much stability in a way, so much stability that's hard to, if you don't not coming home to the same people every night who accept you, even if they're kind of abusing you in a way, it's like, there's some stability there. There's some like nervous system safety, and people are. It seems easy to just say, "Oh, I'll cut that out," But what we don't realize is that, to not be living with others, it can present to not have those people to come to every day who accept us, we have rhythms of life with. That can be so hard for our mental and emotional and spiritual health. That's something that I've been discovering over the last few years, spending so much time alone, living alone, and not having a lot of close, nourishing community connections. And I really started to see how it was inhibiting my growth, my spiritual growth, because I just couldn't have that stability. I wasn't getting enough nourishing human connection, just being safe with someone, feeling of spending time with someone, spending regulated time with someone, just not doing anything, not having a focused event or do this and then do that, but just being with people and letting the nervous system regulate, has been, for me, made a huge difference in the way that I feel and the way that my mind is operating and my creativity and so much other stuff. So this discovering these boundaries and speaking to them, this is, I think it's such a positive thing as well, because people, in a way that people are really done with the old ways of toxic relating. And, it's not as easy as, of course, it's not as easy as just cutting people out, but it's a long journey to really be healthy emotionally and mentally and spiritually and that kind of stuff. But it's a necessary one. There's a lot of growth here, and there's some people are rising and some people are burning, and it's intense. So so many of these things, abuse and toxic relationships, there's so much shame that was going along with them, and now people are realizing, okay, we all are in the same boat. We all have these different hangups, these different patterns. There's so much shame that's been deconditioned as people speak out more about it, as things are normalized, and people are giving themselves permission to create their own nourishing lives instead of just tapping into, okay, let's find the partner and have the family, and that's like our only source of nourishment. People are finding different types of communities and different healthy human nourishment in different places, through dance, through spiritual community, maybe through being with the earth, or maybe through gardening, or through food, or through just various other aspects. And so many things are being normalized to get these healthy, these, as the shame is being deconditioned, we're seeing so many things coming to light and meeting the needs. You're seeing like cuddle parties, you're seeing touch, nourishing touch normalized between friends, or you shouldn't, if it's too risky to touch, to give the opposite sex a massage, it'll lead to something, it'll cause chaos, I feel like that conditioning is still within me a bit, that like, you shouldn't do these things that are very nourishing and very, just very healthy. And of course there's, you have the risk of these big energies coming, and you have to know how to deal with them skillfully to maintain stability in the relationships and have it be with the right person. But like, it's now possible to have nourishment and connection in so many more ways than before. And people are also, deconditioning relationships, and that's a whole interesting thing, and saying, monogamy is controlling and paternalistic, and I want to just do whatever I want when I want. And I think it's interesting, and I think some people are finding satisfaction in it. I think it's like a very simplistic kind of, I think there's so many subtle things that happen organically when you're with a partner, and it's easy to avoid so many things when you're not, and if you can just kind of float in and out. But I think some people, at different points in their life, like maybe, it could, a monogamous relationship can be too intense. It can be very, activating and triggering. And I think it's good for people to explore connection and safety, but not, and not necessarily risk losing themselves completely if they have that pattern. I think it's important to also teach about healthy, nervous system regulation and communication and boundaries and care and love and things like that, so that partnered relationships can be healthy and partnered relationships can be nourishing and supportive. But yeah, I mean, people get to choose, and for better or worse, I think a lot of humans want to just do, like I said before, humans want to just do what they like and what interests them at the moment. And anytime you're with a partner, you're gonna get bored after a while if you're not constantly renewing yourself and working through the different things that come up. So I think there's a real, and as you see with dating apps as well, as you can just keep swiping, you keep swiping. So there's always that promise of something new and something exciting, and you never really have to risk getting, you can just have like 5 partners and nobody, you can just kind of bounce between it. So you never really get too heavy and entangled, I guess. And I think there's some benefit to that maybe, but also, yeah, it can, I think we don't quite realize our human potential if we don't go deep with others in relationships. So, so I think, I think relationships are a powerful portal. And so yeah, any relationships we have, I think it's important to be, vulnerable and honest, and to do and triggers are going to come up, anytime you're getting close to someone, you're going to get triggered. And so learning how to see that in the proper perspective and use, manage our emotions, understand where the triggers are coming from, find a way to, take, to not just codependently expect the other person to take care of those things, but to, learn how to be with it, and also learn to communicate and potentially ask someone for what you need. Someone's safe, if you need to have reassurance, or if you need some touch, or if you need some space, or to be able to navigate those emotions and communications to create the healthy relationships is important. So what other benefits are there? Yeah, I mean, people are on a journey of self-discovery. Everyone's trying to figure out their gender and their sexuality and their career, and it's amazing in so many ways. People are really asking themselves, like, who am I, and like, how do I express myself in this life? And I think in the consumerist commercial way of the West, like, a lot of people identify with different styles, these external expressions of who they are. But there's a lot of inner self-discovery, because so many people are sharing healing advice, and everyone's going to therapy and sharing all the information, all this knowledge that people didn't share before. And so people are really discovering what makes them happy and what makes them thrive. And the dark side of this is that US is such an intellectual society, and everyone's just running around with all these ideas in their heads and overanalyzing everything, and trying to find abuse and toxicity and in every corner. And the mind loves to be negative. The mind loves to look for negative things. So if we're focusing on all this stuff that's wrong, it's like there's also so many good things and opportunities that are waiting for us. But if our mind is filled with negativity, we can't receive it. So this is a really big dark side of the of this self-discovery, is like you can get, I've been in it for quite a while, and it's easy to get into that just that obsession with healing, and that that perfectionism of healing. We want to be as great as we can and healthy and happy as we can, and we end up focusing on negative stuff all the time. It's not the way the mind works. So and also all this self-discovery, makes people can make people intolerant of other opinions. They, you feed yourself with the information that works for you, and you start to believe that what you have is totally right, and other things are totally wrong. And it may be right for you, it may be right for a great percentage of the population, but if you try to force ideas upon other people, you get into trouble, even if you think that you're right, even if you are right. So you can't force, people's minds are very delicate, and you can see that a lot in culture with one side thinking they're right, wanting to be right, and getting very worked up about it and trying to convince other people what's right. It's just not how the mind works. The mind works with love and patience and time, and people, adults need to be able to make their own decisions, basically. And trying to force people to change their mind leads to really, those energies being suppressed and repressed and redirected in other ways that aren't so healthy. So I think this is kind of I hope I focused on things that were more on the positive side, but I think, so, I've been focusing before on the shadow sides of these different aspects of feminism and wokeness and culture, but, all these things, like, you can hardly imagine life without it now. There's so much that's come to light and so many possibilities, and I think, people, nervous systems work only at a certain speed. I think the younger people are kind of catching on to certain things faster, but even older folks like me are growing and being and getting the benefit of the exposure to these new paradigms and new ideas and ability to grow. And so, I think I want to end with that. Is there anything you think I missed? Any cultural paradigms or beneficial changes that have occurred? I know I'm sure I missed so many, but this is just a brief overview, if you made it this far, of some of the benefits of the culture. It's so easy to just hear about only the negative things, and when we're barraged with negative culture, it's easy for us to be negative too, and the positive stuff can be hard to find. People are really affected by negativity, and the West is going through a big shift, and I think it's a positive shift, but it's taking a while to adjust to the subtle forces that it was blind to due to various cultural factors. So let's go ahead and just take a deep breath. I've been talking a lot, you listening a lot, but let's come back to our center. Just check in with your internal state, with your mind, noticing your mind, your energy, any emotions that are still activated, haven't been processed through. Connecting to that witness consciousness, that part of us that just knows that everything right now is totally okay. Even if we feel a certain way, even if we're thinking certain things, this moment right now, if we're safe, we have what we need. And can just release any tension that you feel, open a little bit more to that energy of the universe, that energy of the divine. That's right there all the time, which is hiding behind our egos. So thank you so much for being here with me. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to next time.